Okay. Hello again, everyone. Thank you very much for coming. I'm Sohaila Bana. This meeting is about West Contra Costa County Fire Safe Council. This is our first official meeting of the board. Many of the board members are not here. We have many board members, around, I think, 20 members from community residents. And also we are honored to have representatives from other agencies. Some agencies said they would have representatives, but they're not here. Chief Montoya, Richmond Fire Chief, is on vacation. He'll be our point of contact, but is not here tonight. So I would like to provide a summary to Chief Healy and Chief Bachman and Preston, to be Chief Barker soon, about where we are in the process and what we expect from them. Hi, Stephanie from PG&E. Thank you so much for joining us. So,
hi, nice to be here.
Thank you. So, as you know, we live in Richmond and unincorporated county in 94803 zip code area, which is a combination of city and county. And we have huge vegetation management concerns and issues. We are surrounded by East Bay Regional Parks, EBMUD. We have PG&E towers. We share a park with City of Pinole. So there are so many stakeholders and they're not organized, and many residents have been frustrated for the longest time because they could not have a point of contact with any of those agencies. So we reached out to Chief Montoya, who in turn reached out to Mike Wilson from California Fire Safe Council, who's here with us, but just listening. He's driving, so cannot talk. And Mike has been holding our hand step by step, walking through the process until we establish the board. We have a group of 4 officers. I'm the president. Marilyn is a vice president. Ray, the secretary, will join us shortly. And Rebecca, our treasurer, cannot be with us tonight. She's working. And we have a team of grant writers, both board members, such as Michelle, who's here, and volunteers such as Melissa here. So, and Kathy and Judy and Patricia and others who cannot be here tonight. So we have a good, a strong team of volunteers who want to be on the board. So we started the process. We also have good relationship with Oakland Fire Safe Council, who has been our big sister organization and passed us some of their bylaws and articles of incorporation documents, and we are modifying them according to our needs, and we'll be ratifying them soon to start the process for registration as a 501c3. So the reason why we would like to have contact with all your agencies is to coordinate our efforts for vegetation management. Our main purpose of becoming a fire safe council is to get grants, honestly. So to complement the work you are doing. So we will be supporting each other. We would like to stay in close contact to make sure there is no redundancy, there is enough support, and we cover all areas of concern. That's in a nutshell. We won't be taking much of your time. We don't, I personally don't envision any need for such meetings in the future on a regular basis, only when need arises. So we won't take much of your time, but we would like to have your contact information to stay in touch, exchange information, mostly by email, and just stay up to date about what's going on both sides. That's basically it. So if there are any questions about, the process or who we are, we'll be more than happy to answer. No questions. Okay, very good. So I'm going to continue. Sorry. I would like to ask Michelle, just provide a brief summary of our bylaws, articles of incorporation, and no conflict. So everybody knows where we are. We are not going to take a vote tonight. Initially, I thought, we will do it, but we just started walking. And as we take one step, we learn about it. So we were walking slowly, but surely. So we're getting there. So there is no vote tonight. We won't take your time with any vote, just getting acquainted, orientation, getting in touch. And we'll do voting next in the next meeting or by writing. Michelle, please.
Okay, well, we have, as Sohaila says, we've been working on the 3 documents to get everything set up. The first we worked on was the Articles of Incorporation, and they are, they represent the instrument that we file with the state to legally form a nonprofit corporation, and it's fairly simple and straightforward. The second document are the bylaws, and that's kind of the operating manual for the group, how we will run smoothly, and we outline rights and responsibilities and participants, and try to just describe how the group's going to function. And then the last of the 3 is the conflict of interest policy, and we need that to prevent the board directors from benefiting in any way from actions that are supported by the organization, and it's a requirement by the IRS. Most of those rules also are pretty well established. There isn't much that we need to create for that document, but we have to make sure that we understand it and it gets ratified annually by the directors of the board. It's an important document, but not much creativity required. So those are the 3, and we're almost done with them. It's down to some very small items that we're still discussing, and I think within a matter of days we will be able to vote on the bylaws. The other 2 are pretty pro forma.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Yep.
Ed, welcome. I would like to introduce Ed from CalFire. We were just talking about where we are in the process of becoming a fire safe council. And Michelle was explaining that we have prepared bylaws, articles of incorporation, and we are giving it the last touch to register as a 501c3. So this meeting is basically for the agency representatives to get to know us, and we get to know them. I mean, to know you, establish contact, know that we can support each other. And if there are any specific opportunities of support or help or grants by you, please let us know. We know PG&E may have mini grant for capacity building. If you have information to provide to us, we appreciate it, or you can send it by email later on. Preston, if there are specific areas, we can ask for your support, or we can, I don't know. We really don't know anything. So we need guidance from you, In engineering, we call it unknown unknowns. There are unknowns we know, there are things we don't know, but there are things we don't know that we don't know about. And we really need your help in unknown unknowns, like CalFire, really unknown unknowns. Let us know, please. Please unmute yourself, Ed.
Yeah, I mean, I can give you guys our elevator pitch as far as Team Rubicon, and what we can do. We definitely can help you guys. Let me turn on my camera really fast. There we go. So we can assist with, volunteer management. If you guys, like, For example, the 7th of May is National Wildfire Preparedness Day. So communities tend to come together, commit projects. A lot of times people get overwhelmed with the number of people who want to help. So volunteer management is a capability we have. Debris management as well. So mechanical thinning, vegetation, removing that debris, helping you guys, get it chipped and spread out. Any projects along that lines, whether it's manpower or helping you guys manage that. We follow NIMS and ICS, so we can plug in with local government and agencies pretty well, or we can, work as a standalone entity and manage the entire project for you guys. So it's really whatever you guys need. Like I said, we have a list of capabilities that goes beyond fire, but just because your ask is outside of that doesn't mean we can't do it. I just need to figure out a way that we possibly could do it. It's never a no. It's sometimes a maybe. We just got to figure it out.
That's wonderful. Thank you very much. I would like actually to follow up with you maybe after the meeting about more details. I had heard about May 7th. I didn't know we could do anything. But now you're giving us hope. We'll be happy to go organize and do something with your help.
Yeah,
So-
absolutely. And I'm going to drop a link. I don't know if you guys are aware. Ready, Set, Go. It's a national program. They have a chipping grant that goes out. I'm going to drop that here in the chat for you guys. You guys can look into that. I actually just got back from the WE conference, which is Wildland Urban Interface in Reno. So I have a lot of information right now. If you wanted, I could do a separate presentation for you guys. I have a PowerPoint I put together for our organization to discuss all my takeaways, but I would be happy to share that with you.
I would love that separate presentation, and I'll invite the community, please. Yes. Let me know the time, and I'll be happy to be in touch with you. Let's follow up on that. Thank you. Judy, go ahead.
So I'm going to assume that Preston is involved with organizations and not individual parties.
Yes. Preston is representing Rubicon.
Okay, so if so you mentioned about debris removal and so on, Preston. If that were to come up, then you would be responding to a group like ours rather than individual situations.
No, we go to individuals' homes all the time. The scope of the project, anywhere from a type 5 incident all the way up to a type 1, which is like a national mobilization where we fly people in. It's never too big or too small. It really is about the need of the person. And again, we're looking at socially vulnerable people. That's not to say that somebody that doesn't have the means, we won't help them, but we try to, as a volunteer organization, we try to be smart with our money. Our donors are moms and dads across the country. So we want to be smart and think about how we're spending those dollars as we help communities, since everyone we have is a volunteer. So if you guys had an individual that needed help, absolutely, we could do a small service project. But at a larger scale, we could go into a community like a neighborhood and also help out, multiple homes. We love those projects as well. Because shared risk, as the chiefs will tell you guys, is one of the bigger factors in a wildfire. Just because one property or two properties cleans up, if the others don't, it still leaves the entire community at risk.
Right. Thank you.
You are invited, Preston, and I'll follow up with you about your presentation day, hopefully next week, and if possible around 6 p.m. so more community members can participate after their work hours. Thank you very much. So Melissa, please make sure you get everyone's email addresses. Thank you so much. Ed, go ahead, please.
I'll introduce myself. My name is Ed Ori. I'm the unit forester for CalFire in the Santa Clara unit. And the Santa Clara unit is a bit of a misnomer. It includes all of Santa Clara County, Alameda, and Contra Costa County, plus the western portion of Stanislaus and San Joaquin. And my role here is a number of things that include environmental compliance. So doing CEQA clearance for our projects, and often involved with fire safe councils and other entities who are doing a VTP or NOE for CEQA compliance on their projects, where we would have to become the lead agency for CEQA filings. So happy to help work with you on that. Anytime you use public dollars, public resources, or require a discretionary permit, CEQA is required. So we can assist with that. I'm the prescribed fire coordinator for a unit. So we've been working on a number of prescribed burns in the coming years. CalFire has several grant programs. The fire prevention grants, which some of you may be familiar with, are administered by the local unit, which would be us. So we just had a grant cycle that just closed 2 weeks or 4 weeks ago. Awards would be coming out in the next 3 to 4 weeks, I think. And we'll be doing it again in the fall, which is kind of a long story, but we got out of sync. And so there'll be 2 offerings this year. So you may be in position to apply in the fall, September. And then the other grant programs are forest health, which I don't know would really benefit you or your area. And there's workforce development and biomass utilization. We also have an urban forestry program that involves not just street trees, but also some community forest or open spaces, but typically the more urban environments. Our staff here, it's myself, Forester 1 Topher Bird, and we have a ES environmental scientist position. And we cover the 5 counties, like I said, planning on projects and coordinating, working with fire safe councils, RCDs. We just have a lot of stakeholders in these units. We've been assisting with CWPPs, RPPs, things like that. My background, I came to CalFire in 2000. I was in the timber industry in Northern California and doing timber harvest plans, management plans, logging administration, road building, herbicide, tree planting, a little of everything. And then I came to CalFire in 2000 at a state forest, did similar work, and then came over to Santa Clara unit and less forestry and more everything around the periphery of forestry. One of the things I'd like to do is try to provide some coordination amongst the fire safe councils to help you guys talk, but Mike Wilson has done a great job of that, coordinating the fire safe councils on a much larger basis. So those things seem to be falling into place now, but do a lot of information sharing. So things that I think you'd be interested in, I try to forward on emails and information that you can capitalize on. And I think that's about it.
Thank you. Are the grants matching grants or hopefully real grants?
The fire prevention grant program does not require a match, but there are some things like in-kind matching sweat equity dollars that do make your application more attractive. And,
Okay.
and same thing with collaboration. If you're multi-jurisdictional, that makes your grant application more appealing.
Okay. And I'm sure we'll need your help with CWPP to make sure it reflects the needs of our community to support our requests for grants. As I said, we're at the beginning of the road, not sure exactly how it works, but we'll need your help with that regard.
Yeah. So CalFire produces annually a strategic fire plan for each unit. And we're working on ours right now for 2022. And we try to include in our document projects that our stakeholders, partners are working on as well. So that when you apply for a grant and you see a question, does your application fit into, is it consistent with a CWPP or the CalFire Unit Fire Plan? You'll be able to say yes.
Yeah.
So.
Very good, thank you. Serge, you had a question?
I do, and Ed, I put this in your chat bar. I'm just curious to start to get a little bit educated. You mentioned being able to be CEQA lead, so I'm curious. Do you guys have a programmatic CEQA document that enables you to work with councils like ours, or do you have to do individual case-by-case evaluations? You know, if money is coming through you, or you're monitoring state money, or do you sometimes CADX or exempt projects under your watch?
Well, we have to make sure that if the project requires CEQA, that CEQA is completed. Like if you were to get a grant from us, we would want to make sure that you have your CEQA compliance done in the first year of the grant or nearly done. If you go through us, we would help work with you on that to prepare the documents. We try to do the lowest level of CEQA possible. Usually a notice of exemption, and it would be for specific projects. You can't throw the whole kitchen sink in with just a NOE, but oftentimes it's advantageous for you to scale a project such that it fits within a NOE. So that might mean some little part of what you want to do needs to be excluded so that you don't trigger a more complex assessment. So say you're doing roadside fuel break where there's a water course crossing, you might have to jump over that and not deal with the in-stream issues.
Okay, and you're able to exempt some of them just as minor alterations to land, you know, that class 4 exemption?
Well, it depends on how your scope of work is designed. And so that's what I'm saying is you might have to modify your scope of work such that it qualifies for a class 4 exemption.
But, you know, a handful of, say, backyards bordering a city or county park. But if you're on private property, say, those typically can be squeezed into a minor alteration, you know, if you don't have a listed species or a water course.
True. But, you know, if you're working within the 100-foot required defensible space of structures, then you're statutorily exempt.
Oh, statutorily. Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, and if you're working along public roads, hopefully the county or the jurisdiction you're working in already has some sort of programmatic coverage for that as well.
I'm starting to get it. Okay. Thank you.
But if it is much more complex than like the new BTP programmatic EIR may be required, and that takes quite a bit of effort to complete. It's a pretty new vehicle. There's a rather scathing article that came out this morning about CalFire and the BTP, which is not entirely accurate and correct, but it does highlight the complexities of doing the VTP process.
That's voluntary. What's the TP for?
It's a vegetation
Oh.
treatment program.
Oh, right, right.
So it's a relatively new, well, it was approved by the Board of Forestry in December of 2019. It's applicable to the area they identified in that plan called the treatable acres. And I'm sure that would encompass everything that you'd be interested in. But that EIR provides for manual vegetation management, chainsaws, chippers, that sort of thing, heavy equipment like masticators, even dozers. It will include prescribed herbivory, which would be goats or cattle grazing, includes some use of herbicide, and it also includes prescribed fire, pile burning and broadcast burning.
Thank you.
Everything.
Thanks. Preston, please.
I just wanted to highlight one of the things that Ed mentioned was the sweat equity that definitely does come into play with a lot of these grants, having a matching in-kind donation hours, and that's somewhere Team Rubicon could come in and help you guys because we do track everything that we do as far as the cost of the operation for us and those hours to help you offset those costs either with grants that have to be repaid or through the hours that have to be logged.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's awesome.
Preston, is there a fee for your services, Preston?
No, absolutely not. No, we're a nonprofit. Everything is done at no cost. So we typically operate on private properties though. And what happens is we go out and do an assessment and we do that with the homeowner present. And then what'll happen is they'll sign a liability waiver, basically saying they're not paying us. We're not charging them at all. We have our own insurance to cover if some of our people get hurt. We're not going to come after them and they're not going to come after us, but that's it. There's no obligations for them to participate or pay us at all. And your organization wouldn't have to pay either.
You're
Thank you.
invited to our community as soon as you can come, please. I already have a tour map for you. Thanks a lot. Chief Healy, would you like to let us know how you can support us or coordinate? And I assume you'll be our point of contact with East Bay Regional Park District.
Yeah, how's it going, everybody? Let me introduce myself. I'm Kari Haley. I'm the Assistant Chief for East Bay Regional Park District. And I want to tell you a little bit about our team. So we have a Fire Chief, Eileen Kiley, who is in charge of the entire department. There's myself, who's in charge of the Fuels Management Department. Working with me, I have two captains. One would probably attend a meeting like this. And then we have 4 fuels reduction coordinators. These positions write contracts to either do initial treatment for fuels management work or to write contracts for maintenance on fuels projects. On average, each position will spend about $1.8 million of fuels work per year per person through those positions. Then we have a fuels crew of 15 members. It includes 1 captain, 2 fuels leads, 12 fuels members. And those positions help maintain the Park District land. And that's a program that we created within the last 3 years of full-time positions benefited that do fuels work on Park District land. The Park District has a wildfire hazard reduction plan that dictates the work that we do, and also we have an EIR under that plan. That plan has recommended treatment areas we refer to as RTAs, and it dictates not only where we can do fuels work, but also where we can seek funding for those fuels work. We're currently funded by several grants from FEMA, CalFire, there's a couple Cal grants that we receive funding through, and because of our EIR, we're able to get funding. But then that funding comes with certain constraints. Sometimes you can only use it for thinning. Sometimes it's maintenance. Some grants like FEMA require you to complete field work in your entire RTA. So for us, that's through 2 different counties and 33 cities that we're doing field work in. And so it's a pretty big program that we're dealing with. And so where we can benefit you is, us being a big agency, sometimes it's daunting to just send you to our website to get the latest fuels project. Sometimes I even have a challenge of finding that information. There's definitely areas that we can do better. And so, ideally, we do like to attend all of these meetings. But like I said, being within 33 cities, you can imagine how many community groups are within 33 cities. And so obviously we can't attend every single meeting, but we do try to attend meetings when we can, because we know it's important to speak directly to the public. With that said, there's already a group that we attend the meeting every so often. I think they're referred to as the Wildcat Canyon group. It's something like that. I know there's Kate Rauch is one of the people that heads that group, and they're kind of doing similar work. But one of the benefits of a fire safe council is that you would be able to apply for grants, and that's positive. And what I would want to put out there is that earlier I said that the Park District is funded for work within our RTAs, and so a large part of your community is surrounded by either Park District land or EBMUD, but you may not know that there's a plan of doing the work or work that's already been done. Sometimes to just a regular person's perspective, you could look at an area and not realize it's actually been treated. But we're not looking for, as a resource management agency, you're not going to see us, for example, removing all the trees or doing these very aggressive fuels management techniques. We're a resource agency, so we'll do thinning. We look for spacing between trees so that we still have natural resources and promote native trees and plants that are there, and also the natural resources that are there. At the same time, taking care of the fire mitigation aspect of it. And so we have a fuels management technique that allows for fire departments to respond to put out fires that aren't going to produce large flame lengths. So for us, that's a goal of flame lengths under 6 feet, which are flame lengths that firefighters coming off of engines can suppress. And so it's a balance of not just thinning for fire suppression, but also forest health and also natural resource protection. There's lots of different challenges and goals that we have, and we have a comprehensive plan that lays out all that information. And if you ever do go to our website to look at that plan, I would just advise looking at the executive summary. It's kind of a Cliff Note version of our plan, because our plan is an entire book. And most people aren't going to be interested into that, but the executive summary does a good job summarizing that work or what the plan entails. Additionally, we have lots of different community groups, and obviously everybody doesn't necessarily care what's going on in other cities, but you want to know what's going on in your own backyard or maybe potentially right behind your house. And I get that. I live in an area that is, I have Oak and Bay behind my house and open space directly behind my home. And so I understand those concerns that people have. But I did want to say that, we are doing work, and sometimes it may not necessarily be able to see depending on what you're looking for. And so us attending these meetings can give you updates on where that work's happening and why that work is happening in particular areas. And again, that has to do with our recommended treatment areas. You'll hear us say RTAs, and that those are areas that our plan has dictated that is the ideal area to do fuels work based off fire severity, things of that nature. Lastly, what I'd like to say is each year we put together a program of work that says which RTAs we're going to do work in. And that's based off a lot of different factors. It starts with the proximity of the homes, goes into slope and fuel type, aspect. There's lots of different things that go into that. And then based on all of that, we come up with a program of work for the year. And that's how we internally decide which RTAs that we work on for the upcoming year. And so that's just a little insight of our internal process and how we go about doing our fields work.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate the information. As you said, it's not easy to get a clear image of what's going on when we go to the website, you know, the depth of information and details. Many neighbors have been asking about the dead trees at the East Bay Regional Parks. There are many of them, and all they're asking for is a line that shows there's a fuel break between the residential area and the green area. If you have such a RTA, and you know, a line of fuel break behind our area, please send it our way to give us peace of mind, even if it's in the future. That's what we constantly receive as a question. That's very important. We feel like there is no fuel break, or as they say, shaded fuel break, as you described. It'd be nice to have it, but we don't see any yet.
Yeah, I can absolutely do that. And so what would be helpful for me, if I can get you a detailed answer, is either give me a street reference or cross streets of the area that you're speaking of, and then I can give a direct map or detailed answer. And I did want to, you touched on the dieback and tree mortality challenges we have on our parkland, not just us, but throughout California and also on other districts' lands. And so the Park District does have a plan to address those issues. It started a couple years ago, and it started with inviting foresters out throughout the state, foresters from CalFire, and also the federal government. They came out, gave us their expertise of what the problem was. We found out that it had to do with the beetle in certain cases and different pathogens or fungus in other areas. And so not only was it a fire prevention issue and challenge, but also, of course, health. In certain cases, beetles will jump from tree to tree if trees are close to each other. In other areas, the pathogen just spreads like any other disease that we would deal with as humans. And so for us to go in and treat that, it was something we needed to do so that we could prevent more trees dying and also treat from a forest health perspective. And so it was a very serious problem for us, and it's very expensive. Let's give you a little snapshot of how expensive it is. It's not necessarily in your area, but one of our more severe areas was in Anthony Chabot, and we had multiple areas to deal with, but the most severe was in the city of Oakland, Anthony Chabot, dealing with approximately 1,200 acres. And so we have bids, and we have an average of the cost of us doing that work is $24.7 million to treat 1,200 acres in just one of our parks. And so we have that challenge throughout the district, but the agency has been seeking funds from different sources so that we can work on those projects. And so those are just some of the challenges that we're dealing with, along with maintaining the property that we've already been maintaining on a daily basis. And so some of the challenges we're all seeing right now, it's our belief that are due to climate change, and it's caused trees to be vulnerable in certain situations, which has caused the dieback that's happening. That's the short version of that. And so it's just another challenge of the planet changing, and us as an agency are trying to adapt so that we can treat that issue, so we can protect our natural resources, and also do fire prevention work so that the communities that are around our wonderful parkland can feel safe.
Thank you very much. I'll be in touch with you, and I'll send you a map and a specific question about fire breaks. Chief Bachman, I'm going to ask you to tell us about how you can support us. And I just wanted to mention to you, actually, one of the complications we have is we have complaints from or concerns actually raised by residents where, for example, they live in the county, unincorporated county area. The neighbor who is not doing his vegetation management is a resident of Richmond. So it's they don't know whom to refer to. They don't get any response. So we hope that we'll be in close communication and take care of such issues. And please let us know about, I mean, I know how helpful you've been with us, how, I should tell everyone actually that before all this, for a year, we've been in touch with Chief Bachman. And Chief has kindly helped us with fire signs today. And by the way, a couple of volunteers who will be helping are here, and we are getting more volunteers who adjust the fire danger today signs. So please.
Sure. My name is Chris Bachman. I'm Assistant Chief over the Fire Prevention Bureau. I'm also the Fire Marshal for Contra Costa County Fire. Give you a little bit of overview about what our Bureau is doing. As you heard Ed mention about the CalFire Prevention Grant, we did put in for a shaded fuel break in, the proposal extends through 3 cities. It goes through Walnut Creek, into Lafayette, and then into the town of Moraga. It also crosses over East Bay Parks. So the request is to do a joint agency project, which would include Contra Costa County Fire, East Bay Regional Parks, and Moraga Arenda Fire Department. And it will extend off of a shaded fuel break that Moraga Arenda Fire Department was awarded last year, and they're currently working on now. That is, I believe, 16 miles long. Our proposal is 14 miles long with 250 acres. The idea is that if awarded, then it would be a continuous shaded fuel break through Moraga, Arenda, Lafayette, and Walnut Creek that would extend a total of 30 miles. And that we do plan on starting to map out these shaded fuel breaks where they exist throughout the county, adding the North Arenda shaded fuel break, which was completed in 2019, and starting to encourage other fire agencies to work on this project with us and mapping them out strategically, deciding where we think they could best go, and then applying for grant funding to help bring them to fruition. So it would be a coordinated effort amongst other fire departments throughout the county. In addition, we have Measure X funding that is supporting mitigation efforts through our organization. The big one is that the Board of Supervisors approved Measure X funding to pay for and support our Crew 12 hand crew to now be a year-round resource. So they're going into their 3rd year of having a hand crew, but we have always in the past had to, at the end of fire season, they're a seasonal worker. We lay them off at the end of fire season, which is usually November, and then we rehire our fire control workers roughly the April timeframe and have them here in May. That causes an issues of turnover, getting good quality help back. So the idea is that we will keep one crew around year round, and in the off fire season, we will focus on mitigation efforts throughout Contra Costa County, not just in Contra Costa Fire Protection District's jurisdiction, but throughout the entire county. So if you're in an area that is not in our jurisdiction, maybe the city of Richmond or San Ramon, or Moraga Arenda, the funding will be available to apply for projects or have Crew 12 not just work in CalFire's area, but throughout the county. And we'll be mapping out and documenting all those projects that we complete year over year to show the value to the Board of Supervisors of what we're able to accomplish by them supporting our Crew 12 in the off season, not just during fire season. And it was also good to know that there is another funding option coming up that we could apply for, maybe a smaller project this fall. We're getting everything ready that if we are awarded for the current fire prevention grant, that we're able to immediately start the process as we identified in our narratives of going out for RFP, getting our CEQA done so we can show good faith that we're starting the project immediately and we'll have no problem completing it in the 3-year period of performance that's identified to complete the grant.
Thank
It
you.
was a $5 million request. So, you know, again, a very large project that we would not be able to complete on our own without grant assistance.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. We can't wait to have those shaded fuel breaks around our area too. With your help, I'm sure in a couple of years, it'll be completely around the area as well. So Stephanie, may I ask you to please let us know more about PG&E's support and coordination and possibly mini grants. Oh, sorry, Marianne, you have a question? Go ahead.
A quick question, Chris. Does your area not cover city areas? For example, you mentioned something, if we didn't deploy a grant, as long as it didn't cover like city of Richmond. So can you clarify your areas of coverage?
So we cover East Richmond Heights, but we do not cover the city of Richmond. We also cover in the city of San Pablo, but the city of Richmond is Richmond Fire Department. So I do know that, or at least the fire marshal had told me that the Richmond Fire Department was planning on putting in for a grant through CalFire as well with their fire prevention grant. But I'm not sure the exact details of that proposal. But as far as being able to request and use Crew 12 in the off season, this next year in the off season, that is something that the city of Richmond residents will be able to have that resource available. We're still setting up how those requests are going to come in. And we're wanting to make sure that we're working with the local fire department to receive those requests. So what we don't want is, let's say, Richmond residents requesting us for Crew 12 to come out into their jurisdiction, that the process would work through that fire department to request Crew 12 for your project to come out and assist in mitigation efforts. And of course, priorities would be given for community efforts rather than just like a single property.
By the way, is Pinole also under CalFire now, or they have their own fire department?
So Pinole is still their own fire department. We are just starting conversations this month with the city officials and the city manager on creating a contract that we anticipate that next year at this time, at least the contract will be finalized and we'll have a date that will be identified when Pinole will contract for service with CalFire and we will become their fire department for the city of Pinole.
Thank you very much. I would like to let you ask your questions, but we only have 10 minutes left. I'm going to ask Stephanie to talk with your permission, and then we're going to come up with a solution about how to keep communication in the future. And then you can ask questions if the agency representatives have more time to stay with us. So with your permission, I'm going to ask Stephanie to talk now, please.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Stephanie Jameson. Great to see everyone. Good afternoon. I'm a vegetation program manager with PG&E. I oversee vegetation management clearance work for distribution overhead power lines. And I cover the areas of West Contra Costa County, Berkeley, and Oakland. And I'm happy to be a resource for everyone on the call for any vegetation management questions that anyone might have for PG&E or any questions about trees around power lines. So that's one of the main purposes that I'm here. I can also provide some information and updates about a fuel reduction project that PG&E is funding. It's going to take place this year, and it's going to be in the East Richmond Heights neighborhood near Alvarado Park. So it's going to be clearing fuel around distribution power poles that interface the neighborhood and the park. And I don't have a lot more details at this time about exactly when the work's taking place, but if anyone has any questions, you're absolutely free to reach out anytime.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I'm going to invite you when you have time for a little tour of what we think needs to be done by PG&E in terms of vegetation management, especially around those high power towers. We'll be in touch with you.
Yeah, great.
Thanks a lot. Sean, would you like to tell us about your role as well? Sean Castile, are you still here? Sean is here from Caltrans and is in charge of.
Yeah, sorry, I was muted.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, my apologies. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Sean Castile. I work for Caltrans District 4. District 4 covers the 9 Bay Area counties and goes into a part of Sacramento County. The lands we manage, it's approximately 40,000 acres or so. That's what we're looking at. I work in the Office of Environmental Maintenance, and I'm the acting supervising environmental scientist and branch chief for our new vegetation management branch. We have 2 comprehensive plans that we prepare every year and implement. One is our traditional vegetation control plan, and that is our mowing and our bare ground strips we put next to the highways. And Caltrans is now going above and beyond and moving forward with fuel reduction management plan projects. And I serve as contract manager for those contracts. There's some information I may have that may be of value to the group, are costs, things that trying to figure out what things cost. For instance, one rate that has been kicked around in our organization is about $15,000 an acre for vegetation management. But with traffic control, if you have project with traffic control, it's upwards of around $20,000 or more. We write up a vegetation control plan every year, and that's prepared by licensed pest control advisors. And then our field maintenance staff implement all of the work. For our fuel reduction management planning, we hold a workshop every year, and we have done this for 2 years now, inviting local fire departments with concerns and making sure our plans are underpinned in sound science, and using the fire marshal's fire hazard class severity zone ratings for our bare ground swath widths, our frequencies of mowing, and then also prioritizing projects for fuel reduction management work, shaded fuel breaks, for instance. We touch everybody. We partner with fire departments, we partner with RCDs, we partner with a number of different folks. Because we touch everybody, if you're looking for a cost of something or you're trying to find a resource for something, I may be a good contact for you. I've met a lot of folks, and you guys are all so very lucky to have grant writers. You are really lucky. So let's see here. So one thing that might be of interest to you folks also is we spend quite a bit of money on vegetation management. And if you're applying for grants that require matching funds, we may have in-kind funds that we could share with you for your individual projects. I know each of the grants has specific rules on the money. So, but if it's good for, if you can use matching funds from California state government, then I would recommend that you reach out to me. let's see, we usually hold our annual workshops with fire departments, usually in April. That's the way it's been happening lately, and I expect it will continue that way into the future. So if you're working with your local fire departments and they're attending our workshops, if you have priority projects on Caltrans managed lands, that could be communicated with your fire department, and your fire department could bring the project to us. We would place it on a list. Sometimes it's on a rolling list. We only have a certain amount of funds, but then we discuss those individual projects and prioritize them accordingly. Okay. Another resource for you is if you have a particular project that encroaches onto Caltrans managed land, I can assist your council with greasing the skids for getting encroachment permit applications and navigating through our process, which might be of value. We are operating on a programmatic ER that we've had in place for a number of years for our traditional vegetation control plan. We are clearing projects, fuel reduction management plan projects, using another process, and happy to discuss some of the things that we're doing in that regard. Basically, our old EIR that we're using for our traditional program, it's using the philosophy of flag and avoid, trying to getting the low-hanging fruit first, and coming back and capturing more complicated work later, as a strategy. And I put my email address inside the comments. If someone has a question, go ahead and you can certainly use my email address. And I prefer email, keeping track of the many emails I receive. I really need an email rather than a phone call if at all possible. And hopefully there's some time for any questions you might have.
Thank you very much. So we're almost out of time, and I respect agency representatives' times, and I really appreciate you came. But before you go, I would like to ask you, if you don't mind, let us know, how do you want us to stay in touch? What is the best way? We don't want to bug you, but we would like to stay in touch. We would like to proactively apply for grants, coordinate with you, receive information, and as you know, many unknown unknowns. Please guide us. What do you expect from us? How to stay in touch with you? What do you prefer?
So, what works best for me is email. It allows me to keep track of the many folks that we interact with, and that is the preferred method. So,
okay, thank you, Chief Healy. What do you suggest?
Yeah, email the same. Email will be the best method, and I can figure out who to send the email to and get the appropriate person to answer any questions that you might have. And I actually have to go to another meeting. It was nice meeting everybody. I'll see you at the next one. Take care.
Okay, thank you very much. So I wonder if we should make an email group for all agency representatives or individual emails. Chief Bachman, what do you suggest? And Ed, please let us know.
Yeah, email for myself as well for communication. I would ask that, clarifying that if you're identifying representation or, if I'm attending the meeting, that it's identified as Contra Costa County Fire. I believe on the email I saw, unless that was, somebody else was invited, it was identified for Contra Costa County. Along with, I know it said like City of Richmond. I think that if, just clarifying if is it going to be a City of Richmond municipal representative, or is it the fire department representative? It just helps clarify who you're requesting input from. Is it a fire department or is it a municipality form of government?
You're absolutely correct. In my email, I made the mistake to put municipalities. All of them should have been the fire departments. You're right. I'll be careful in the future. A learning curve for me too. Ed, I assume email for you too, and Stephanie?
Yes, please.
Okay. And if there is anything, please feel free to email us to us and educate us, train us, give us heads up, and guide us, please. Individuals, you're welcome to stay, and Preston, I don't know if you're still here. If you could stay a few more minutes, we would like to learn more from you. We would appreciate it.
So Hala, we may want, how about Ed? Did Ed have a preference for communications, Ed Ore?
I thought Ed said email. Go ahead, Ed, please.
Yes, email, please.
Okay,
Yes.
sorry.
And Stephanie email, right? No email group we will keep it on individual basis.
Yeah, email, or I can even give out my phone number. I don't mind taking the time to.
I would
Talk
very
with you.
much appreciate it. Thank you. If you could put it in the chat, and Melissa, please write it down. Thank you so much. Serge, you have a question? Go ahead.
And especially while the agency types are still around, it's a general kind of comment, but if any of you have advice about what for us as kind of a locally based fire council, I mean, all the board members were all in 94803. If you have any advice about how not to get tangled in grant chasing or project chasing where we may have more than one jurisdiction involved, if you've just observed with working with fire councils, if you have any advice for us, since we're in our starting stages, and that's kind of a logistical concern I've got.
Yes,
And
definitely don't want to compete with any of the agencies. We want to be coordinating. Any answers to Serge, to the question by Serge?
I think it would be beneficial to talk to Cheryl Miller with the Diablo Fire Safe Council. They currently cover Alameda and Contra Costa County, and it's been in existence for quite a while. I know one of the obstacles that they deal with is finding funding mechanisms to be able to then take those funds and provide measures for residents to apply for. I believe it's got to be 3 or 4, I think it's 3 or 4 residents to be able to apply for. Is it 5? I know it's a group of residents that you have to apply together, and the max amount is $5,000 per project. But I'm starting to see more and more emails where those funds are getting distributed for various projects that were submitted a year or 2 years ago for funding. So I think that's probably going to be your challenge, just based on what I see through the Diablo Fire Safe Council, is securing those funds to then pass on to different projects. You probably will need to decide, like, how do you plan on, if you apply for grants to get funding, how do you plan to disperse those funds or manage that project? But definitely I would talk to Cheryl Miller. She's been doing the Diablo Fire Safe Council for years and probably has valuable information on what has worked well for them and what their struggles are.
And how about for you? You and Richmond are the perfect people to ask this question. Have you ever seen projects where there was a single pot of money coming for a community effort, wherein residents of both the county, unincorporated El Sobrante, and Richmond in our case, both get to benefit from it? Or just administratively, is that too tough for the grantors, et cetera, and you guys maybe also?
Well, from a grant, it would have to be a regional request, and that's what we put in for this year with CalFire, was a regional request to include 3 different jurisdictions. In the future, if we apply for another grant to the west, I definitely see it involving multiple jurisdictions as well, because of the entanglement of the municipalities and how, what we call Battalion 7 or West County, how integrated we are between the other cities, that it would be hard to create a shaded fuel break or do a project that wouldn't involve multiple jurisdictions. So I don't see that as an obstacle, and Ed can comment on that, but it's, to my knowledge, they like to see the regional request that involves multiple jurisdictions requesting funding and working together to complete projects.
Thank you. That's we like that answer.
Thank you very much. And I just wanted to let you know that actually Ray, who is our secretary of our Fire Safe Council, is also on the board of Diablo Fire Safe Council. So, and we're in close contact with Cheryl. She's one we contacted 2 years ago. And we'll be in touch. Marilyn, your question, please.
Yeah, this is, I'm hearing people with scientists on their crews and their teams, and I realize I have a unique opportunity here. For a long time now, I have been sort of, I have people talk about the winds here, and we have these steep canyons and it's convoluted, and I know one of our big fears is a big fire starts in Orinda and it travels straight down the San Pablo Canyon or Valley right into our valley. And another case is we have winds that come with the Diablo winds that seem to be coming right off of the Martinez Alhambra Valley and swirls around the tops. Has anyone ever bothered to study what these behaviors are of these winds? Because they'll be carrying the fire. And it seems like nobody really can target priority areas without that information. I butt up against a hill and I can tell you it just goes right around in circles. I'm pretty sure the embers will come around and come around and come around 3 or 4 times on the same blast of wind, the way it is here. The winds are unique here, and it seems like there's never been any analysis done, or if there has been, nobody knows of it. So we could apply it.
So Marilyn, I actually sat through a couple of breakout sessions at the WCCC conference. One of the most difficult things in fire weather modeling with wildfires is the wind. It's extremely unpredictable. It's a variable that it really can't be accounted for, simply because an ember could come from 100 feet away. It could come from a mile away, if not further. So the most important thing when it comes to that really is defensible space, but also home hardening. You mentioned the embers. And the reality in a wildfire is you're not going to prevent them, and the fire department isn't always going to be there to protect your property. Right. So I appreciate what you're saying and wanting to study that, but the reality is scientists have been working on that for a while, and they're probably not going to figure it out anytime soon. There's a lot of resources out here, and I definitely will come back and give you guys a presentation, as I mentioned before, talking about that kind of stuff. But really what you want to focus on is making it so your home has a chance to survive without, the fighters having to come out and, protect your structure. Or if they do manage to make it there because they're not having to do evacuations, that your structure is defensible. Because if your house is completely overgrown, or it's going to put firefighters' lives at risk, they're not going to stay, to defend property, if they're not going to go home.
Yeah. I mean, I have been looking at some of this. I think part of the problem is we have this perception that because the dominant winds here are from the bay, except when the Diablos go, they think they're not in a wildfire zone. And so we have a political problem that goes along with that because of this perception.
We can continue the discussion, but I just want to thank all the representatives. And I'm going to stop recording, but would like to make some plans with Preston, if you could stay.
I actually had some stuff for.
Okay. I think Preston left too. Thank you very much, everyone.
There he is.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Chief Bachman. Thank you, Ed. We'll be in touch. Thank you, Sean. And I think Stephanie left too. We'll be in touch with you by email. Thanks a lot. I'm going to stop the recording and ask Preston about